Hi, I'm Earl Beatty, a senior fellow at Construx, and I want to just take a few minutes to talk to you about some key Scrum collaboration points. But it's interesting, as I go out and look at a lot of clients, these appear to be top secret. So these are secret collaboration points. But before we get into the points, it's kind of interesting to think about what do we need to even collaborate about? And I think we need to collaborate about three key areas. First, we need to collaborate around the discovery of the work. What are the problems that we're trying to solve? What are the opportunities we're trying to take advantage of? What is the customer like? Where are they? What do they do? What kind of things going around them when they do their work? We need to understand that because we have to make thousands of little decisions as we create software that if we don't understand the customer, we're likely to get them wrong. So we need to collaborate around that thing. We also need to collaborate around invention. What are we going to do to actually solve the problem? What are we going to build? All those decisions about building it, we need to collaborate about that as well. We also have to collaborate around implementation, how we actually go about building it, so we don't step on each other's toes. Who's going to take the code out this time? Who's going to do that bit of work? All that needs collaboration as well. And traditionally, when we did this collaboration between discovery, invention, and implementation, we kind of did it in a sequential fashion, that we did all the discovery we thought we did, and then we created a big, huge document to hand that off and do all the invention or design, and then we create a big, huge document, and then we try to implement all that. Well, we don't try to do that in Scrum. In Scrum, we try to do small, iterative amounts of discovery, invention, and implementation. And so we got to really be careful about and really conscious of this collaboration. So where does discovery, invention, and implementation happen in Scrum? Well, this here is Earl's model of Scrum, and I kind of labeled where I think discovery, invention, and implementation actually happen. Let's take a look at those a little more detail here. First, the discovery. How do we do discovery in a collaborative way in Scrum? Well, you think it was a secret, because what should be happening is we're using something like, our old friend, the user story or some other product backlog item, and we start off with a simple collaboration, say, of the product owner who has the responsibility of writing that, maybe with a Scrum Master or some sort of lead working with them. But we really need to bring in the entire team to have that conversation because everyone needs to understand what that customer's really doing. And so we want to have that. And where does that happen in Scrum? Well, I think that happens often in the Sprint Zero, if you have one of those, but really in the refinement sessions. Anytime we're breaking apart the stories, understanding them, writing the acceptance criteria, that's where we need to have that collaboration going on. And we really need to have the full team participation. And it can also happen a little bit in the sprint planning here as well. But mostly anytime we're trying to refine the backlog, we may start out with just a product owner and the Scrum Master or some other lead, but we need to bring the entire team in to have that conversation. The next area I want to look at is invention here. Invention sort of says, how are we going to solve that? And so what are we going to do to make that work? Well, we're going to be looking mostly at our tasks here. And when I say tasks here, I want to be careful because I think this is another place where we've got some secrets going on a lot of Scrum implementations. Because when people think tasks, they just write these simple little activities that need to happen. When I think about tasks, I think about things we're actually going to build, specific methods we're going to write to make this happen. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about here, not the kind of things that sound like activities that we're going to do. That's all wrong in my opinion. We don't want activities. We want specific actions we're going to do. So the tasks we're going to do, this is mostly the focus of the team. So the team's going to say, how are we going to solve this? And we want the entire team participating together, not assigning one person to go do it, but the entire team working on it because we don't have those big, humongous documents. And we're probably going to have a conversation a bit with the PO here too to see if there's differences, like if there's different ways we want to do that. We might want some clarification, what might work better for the customer, but mostly it's a team activity here. And we might have the Scrum Master hanging around helping make sure that we're answering all the questions. And the content we're going to create out of the collaboration is the same content we used to put in that big, humongous design document. But we're not creating one of those, so the spotlight really needs to be on the team having that conversation as a whole. And given what I see a lot of organizations, this seems to be a secret that we need to have the entire team talking about it. So where does this happen? I think this happens primarily in sprint planning. That's what sprint planning was designed to do. Not to just sort of say, okay, I'll do this work, but to work together as a team, as a collaborative entity to do the design, capturing them in those task things. We also will do it in any kind of sidebars that we identify during stand-ups where we're not quite sure how it's working out. Let's go do some more collaboration as much as the team as we really need to make that happen. The third area now is going to be the implementation. The implementation is so working in collaboratively here so we don't step on each other's toes. And here we have the Scrum Master working tightly with the team. The Scrum Master's job here is to make sure the toes aren't being stepped on, to make sure people are connecting up and that collaboration is really happening. And the team is taking full responsibility to do that. And they're doing that because we're all working theoretically on the same story. I don't assign one story to each person and say, oh, you go do it, then you go do that one. But we're collaboratively working together to get that most important thing done. And again, this seems like a secret because most people think, oh, I have 5 team members, I'll assign 5 stories. No, we want to work as a collaborative team to make sure we're understanding and implementing that design the way we want to. Right? And so where does that happen? That happens mostly in the daily stand-up. Let's make sure we're all working together here to get this done. And the agile wall that we use, whether physical or electronic, is going to help us do that coordination as well. And our friend the PO, yeah, maybe they're in there now and then help us answer specific questions. So that is our basic way we're going to do collaboration: discovery, invention, and implementation. It seems to be a secret for a lot of groups that Scrum built in events to make people collaborate. But if you just take these simple tips I've described, you can have a far more collaborative, and it doesn't have to be a secret for you.